Jumping on with me is Jesse. Jesse, what's going on this morning, man?
Hey. Happy holidays, Memphis. It is the most exciting holiday of the year, first football Sunday.
It's not my. This is not really like a holiday. This is more like a happening. Hold on one second. Yep.
Nice.
Oh, it's way too early for that, sir. We are drinking a Monster Energy drink
Okay.
in honor of our very own Zach Camps.
Nice. Just finished my giant cup of coffee.
Yeah, I had that earlier. I'm all sorts of caffeinated. I get a little wild when the caffeine's going. But yeah, man, I'm ready for it. Looks like good weather around the league. What game are you most interested in this morning as we're waiting for the YouTube viewers and the Twitter followers to start jumping in with us?
Atlanta, Philadelphia. Just, I'm an Eagles fan, so that's what I'm most excited for, most interested in as a football fan. Fantasy wise, that's a really good question. I would say I really want to get a look at some rookies. So probably Pittsburgh. I want to see Najee in real action. Speaking of, did you know that this Eagles-Falcons game is the first time in, I think, over 40 years that two rookie head coaches will be going up against each other? So that'll be real interesting.
You got to give the lean to Arthur Smith, right?
As a coach, yes, absolutely.
What about as a rock, paper, scissors aficionado?
Oh, my God. Oh, Sirianni. If I said this on our podcast on Patreon by the people, but, if I'm Jeffrey Lurie, the Eagles owner, I tell that man, just go out there and don't say anything stupid in this introductory press conference. And that's not what he did.
Well, it's like
he did not accomplish his task.
For those that don't get the reference we're talking to, back during the draft process, head coach of the Eagles, Nick Sirianni, said that they're so competitive that they were asking rookies during their interviews to do rock, paper, scissors with the coaching staff. Not, hey, how do you fit in our scheme? Hey, how do you get ready for game day? Not what was best for you in college. It's like, man, let's play some rock, paper, scissors. That's how we build champions. A little Rochambeau.
Well, I guess it's a little better than the unidentified team. I read a report a couple years ago was asking players just intentionally offensive questions, such as, "Is your mother a prostitute? Is she planning to be a prostitute in the future?" So it may be stupid, but at least it's not offensive, right?
I do. I mean, I don't condone it, but I do get the asking of
Sure.
that question.
They want to see how you react.
Exactly.
Someone smacks you in the mouth. How do you react?
Exactly. If someone asks you in the heat of battle when your emotions are already raw, if you can't handle that question when you're just having to sit down in a chair, you question at an interview table, how are you going to handle that on the field? Because the level of trash talk in the NFL, anywhere really, where you have people competing in athletic endeavors, has got to be way worse than that. I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. They want to know if you're gonna Barcavius Mingo all over the field.
Whatever happened to Barcavius Mingo? Is he
He
still with the Bears? Cleveland?
Cincinnati.
You
I'm
know,
not sure. I'm not sure. I think he dirty hitted himself out of the league.
I know you're thinking of Vontez Burfict.
That's who I'm thinking of. My bad. My bad. You are correct.
Mingo has bounced around from the Colts to the Bears. He may still be he was with the Browns, I know, for a minute. That's the one thing about that. There are certain positions in the NFL where you're always going to get chance after chance after chance after chance, and two of them are always going to be defensive end. Look at Alden Smith last year with the Seattle Seahawks. And, believe it or not, the Tennessee Titans, he's no longer known as Janoris. He is Jackrabbit. Just call him Jackrabbit Jenkins.
Jackrabbit Jenkins.
So we got your game out of the way. I'm going to save some of my props. Now, I will go over the first prop that I've already put out on YouTube, Dynasty Warzone. Just go to YouTube. You would have saw it on Friday. I haven't got the most recent number. I will give it to you. I'll get your thoughts while I confirm a fresh number. So for me, it was James Robinson over at what at the time was 67.5 rush yards. What do you think about that prop?
I like the over. We're Jacksonville is hosting, or Jacksonville is on the road. I know that. Who are they playing?
They're playing the Houston Texans, the Fighting Tyrod, or is it Tyrod? Tyrod Taylors.
I like Tyrod. Yeah, I absolutely love the over there. Yeah, it's a crappy defense where people might not really care. It just seems like there's a whole lot of who cares on that team, and they're not overly talented. New head coach. Yeah, I like James Robinson's ability to go over 67.5, you said?
Yeah, that's what it was on Friday when I posted the YouTube videos. James Robinson. I'm pulling it up right now. I'm pulling it off DraftKings. I will say one thing: if you are new to player prop wagers, I actually shared this with Dr. Kyle, our very own Dr. Kyle of the DWZ, Big Bet podcast. Hold on, the computer's acting funky. Yeah, it's 68.5 now. 68, lay $1.15. So it went up a yard, but I was showing this to Dr. Kyle. I will show the users if you can see this. That's 14 different sportsbook apps on my phone. You'll hear Vegas pros talk about quote unquote shopping the number. You always want to try to get the best end of the number. And I will tell you this, as I've been doing my research, the two other props I'm going to give you before we get to 1 o'clock all came from Barstool. Regardless of what you think of Dave Portnoy and Barstool in general, I don't care. I don't care about his politics. I don't care about his behavior. I care about getting the best of the number, and the best of the number on my other two props were found on Barstool. So I'll jump into those here in a second. But the reason why I like James Robinson, did you realize that Houston gave up the most rushing yards in the NFL last year? And they've literally traded away their 3 or 4 best defenders.
Yeah, I had heard that. Yeah,
they traded away. I want to say Shaq Barrett, but I think maybe it was Shaq Lawson. Too many Shaqs in the league, and they just traded away Roby, their best cornerback. They traded him to the Saints. I believe they traded Lawson to the Jets when the Jets lost one of their defensive starters. And anyway, I'm obviously not an IDP guy, but they're trading away all this defensive talent. They gave up 160 rush yards a game last year. And it's not James Robinson's fault that Travis Etienne got hurt. But this is a game where I really believe that James Robinson is going to be the featured player in this offense. Yeah, they want to get Trevor Lawrence out, but this is a team that just feels like they want to get a win. Urban Meyer wants to come out, coaching debut. Trevor Lawrence come out, coaching debut. And the over-under, by the way, on James Robinson and his rushing attempts prop is 16.5. So let's say 16 to 17. The guy averaged 4.5 yards a carry last year. So that's about 80 yards in and of itself. So if they think it's kind of a weird number. And Houston gave up 5.2 yards per rush on defense last year. You add it all up, better weapons, better quarterback play, should open up some better running lanes for James Robinson. So my first prop bet of the week is James Robinson over 68.5 rushing yards, lay $1.15 on DraftKings. Any last final thoughts? Because the questions are starting to roll in finally.
Yeah, I think that's a great bet on the over. It's only minus 115, 67.5. Like you said, if he averages 4 yards a carry and gets, over 15 carries, which everyone expects to happen on a weekly basis, especially against, it's not like Houston's offense is high powered and is going to come out to a huge lead. At least we don't expect them to. I love that bet. The NFL average yards per carry is usually around 4 anyway, right? So if he's just at NFL average, he should get that easily.
Well, I didn't see anything on defense to make me think that Houston was going to progress from their 5.2 yards per rush given up. So I'm not a big parlay guy. I could see someone wanting to also go James Robinson anytime TD score. So maybe also not another bad bet. But my first official prop of the season is James Robinson over 67 or 68.5. I guess you got to take what you can get. Let's play fresh lines. We don't give stale lines here. All right. Mike Kinney on YouTube wants to know Elijah Moore, Darrell Henderson, or Cole Beasley, half-point PPR. You have any thoughts coming right out the gate?
Yeah, absolutely. It's week one, so you don't know what's going to happen, right? You don't know what offense is going to look like. I'm going with the running back in that situation because he's guaranteed touches. Cole Beasley's not guaranteed anything. And who was the first wide receiver?
Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore is a rookie. Who the heck knows what's going to happen? Is Jamison Crowder going to play? Do we know that yet?
Crowder is out.
Crowder's out. So I
Yes,
mean,
sir.
it does make him at least a viable start. I wouldn't start him over the Rams starting running back though.
Mike, I'm going to hit you with a caveat. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Go to your matchup. If you're a big dog in this matchup, I'm going to play Elijah Moore. If you're the favorite over your opponent, I'm going to play the safe touches with Darrell Henderson. And here's
Fair.
why.
That's fair.
Because I feel like the way, from what I've read, that Carolina wants to approach the defensive schematics there in Carolina is they want J.C. Horn to be a man cornerback and then play zone with the rest of the team. I don't know that that necessarily is correct, but that's the reason why they were so bullish on J.C. Horn and took him over. I know everybody wants to be all excited about Justin Fields and how could Carolina pass him up. Neither here nor there. But this is the mindset from what I've read why they went with Horn over Surtain the second, if you want to be technically correct. And so for me, Elijah Moore could be getting a lot of work in the middle of the field. I mean, Tyler Kroft, you already mentioned no Jamison Crowder. We don't know how they're going to use the running backs in this offense, whether it's Ty Johnson, and we're going to get to him in just a second. But for me, if I'm going upside and I need points to win and I'm an underdog in this, I'm going to take Elijah Moore. I think that this is going to be a sneaky higher scoring game. But if you're a safe favorite and just want to lock up a handful of points, I could see, it's hard to say Darrell Henderson. How fucking old am I? But there's a name from the Saints way back in the past. But I'm going to go Eli Moore as a dog, Darrell Henderson as a favorite. All right, Darren. Now, Darren is not only a good dude, he is one of the biggest supporters of the DWZ in literally everything that we do. So, Darren, tip of the blue cap to you, sir. You are a rock star. He wants to know Ty Johnson or Boston Scott. Jesse, I'll give you first dibs on this one as well.
Well, I'm probably Ty Johnson's a tough name to go with, but I think I'm going to have to just because I believe Boston Scott is kind of going to take a backseat to Kenneth Gainwell. I'm not sure about that. We're not really going to know until we see the offense, but Gainwell got a lot of run in the preseason, and they love him, and he looked great. He's lightning, and they're talking him up like crazy. Hot take time, wouldn't be surprised if he takes Miles Sanders' job by the end of the year. Just for that reason, I might go with Ty Johnson just to see what it looks like.
Now hot take hotline was Wednesday night. Tuesday night. You could have been here. You could have dropped that spicy meatball on us then.
I got out of work an hour and a half after you started that podcast.
You're good, man. I'm just giving you a little bit of a hard time.
No, I would have loved to have been there.
My pick is going to be Ty Johnson. I really feel like under another LaFleur, and that is Mike LaFleur, younger brother of Matt, who's the head coach of Green Bay. They both spent time with Kyle Shanahan. Mike was, I think he's followed Shanahan at one time before he took this most recent job. He left San Francisco with, I'm drawing the blank on the bald guy. Very handsome fellow. Saleh. Robert Saleh.
Robert Saleh.
Yeah, when he left with Robert Saleh, it felt like he was the next man up. So for me, I'm going to go Ty Johnson. I want the better offense.
And there's nothing that I've read that says that Michael Carter's going to have that job, right?
Same. I've also heard. Tevin Coleman is going to be involved, but if you look at the Jets' depth chart, Ty Johnson is listed as the starter. Last I looked. And I'm starting him in Scott Fishbowl. Now, part of that is I had my arm twisted behind my back because I lost Travis Etienne. So luckily I had drafted Ty Johnson as a late-round flyer, but now he's no longer a flyer. Now he's in a starter. I'm in a league where we must start 12, 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, and then 8 flex.
Wow.
So, yeah, it gets very, very dicey. So speaking of Johnsons, If you're watching live on YouTube, and that's the only way to get the show, you'll notice in the upper right-hand corner, the show is brought to you by Manscaped. Forget Ty Johnson and Deontay Johnson. Take care of your Johnson by heading over to manscaped.com. Use promo code ZONE, and you'll save 20%, and you'll get free shipping. All right, back to the football. So I'm going to hit you with my second prop. I'm going to let the questions pile up a little bit in the chat before we cycle through some more. But my next prop is Baker Mayfield over 1.5 touchdowns at Barstool Sportsbook app. Lay $1.13. What do you think there, sir? Now, but first of all, you've been a little sneak peek behind the curtain of what's going on at the Dynasty Warzone and the DWZ in general. Jesse has been one of our best and most loyal supporters as well. Now, he is a member of the team, but he is also creating content with us now. Obviously, you see him sitting with us on the show. But Jesse, you've known for a long time, I have not been the biggest fan of one Baker Aloysius Mayfield III.
Let me ask you this, because I'm not the biggest Baker Mayfield fan either. But does it make a distinction whether it's total touchdowns or just passing touchdowns?
It is listed as passing touchdowns.
I'm still going to go over. I don't love it, but I still would go over. They're in KC. KC's going to, I mean, the Browns do have a good defense, but I think KC's going to be KC, and they're going to get out to a big lead, and Baker's going to be gunning. I think they're going to have to. You know, I would go over if I had to bet it, but in heart of hearts, it's a no bet for me.
For me, here is the reason why. Great weather, first of all. The weather it's September. He had 1 touchdown, but playoff football is different than regular season football. I think you're going to see some fireworks today. And like I said, I'm not Mr. Baker, but Cleveland, I believe it's 8 or 9 new starters on defense. And I think by the time we get to Halloween, Cleveland's defense could be, how about this for a play? Cleveland's defense could be scary. Huh? Halloween, scary. You see what I did there? Halloween and scary. I love it. But I think right now coming, new guys, the communication's not there. They didn't play a ton in the preseason. Is it going to surprise you if Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce get behind somebody for a long touchdown? And if they get behind, what is Baker going to have to do? He's going to have to put the ball in the air. So for me, it's more about the way game script, coming into the season. Baker only had like a couple of huge games last year. He had like a 4-touchdown game and a 5-touchdown game. But I really like this just because the matchup dictates they're going to have to, pass the ball. I don't buy this narrative that, they're going to pound the ball, take the air out of it, and try to keep Mahomes on the sideline. Because here's what happens. You try that, and all of a sudden you're down 14-0, and then the rest of the game you're trying to play catch-up against one. Now, if they were to pull a Houston Texans from the AFC Championship game a couple years ago, believe it or not, as much as we bag on the Houston Texans, if you think about this, 2 years ago, that team with Uncle Bill O'Brien and Deshaun Watson, they were up 24-0 on the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead.
Yeah, but that's all they did was piss them off.
It's like poking them with a stick.
Yeah, exactly.
Poking them with a stick, and that's never a good way to go with an angry bear.
Yeah.
So but I just think that it's going to be more of a need to get the ball in the air. A couple other props that I did like from this game. I'm not going to make them an official prop. I liked Austin Hooper over 33 or 34.5 receiving yards. I'm big on Austin Hooper this year. I think there was some continuity. I think he could be the real 3 in this offense behind OBJ and Jarvis Landry. And if we look back at the end of the season, because I refuse, I absolutely refuse to be the college narrative guy. I hate that shit. Baker was so great with Mark Andrews in college. Well, no shit. Huh. You mean a guy who just signed a 4-year, $60-some-odd million or $56 million deal's good at football? I probably would have thrown the ball to him too. But if we look back at the end of the year, because that was one of my season-long prop bets, was Austin Hooper over 500 receiving yards in the season. So I do like that as well. But in a game where I think the ball is going to be flying, I'm taking Baker over 2 TDs today, passing.
And there has been a bit of a drumbeat for Austin Hooper in training camp this year. I heard Kevin Stefanski or read Kevin Stefanski say twice that he expects Austin Hooper to be a larger part of the offense this year. Just another year in the offense. And I think the quote that I read said that he understands what we need from him in this offense, and we're gonna be able to use him more because he gets it now, basically.
Yeah, I've not been the biggest Baker guy, like I said, but I'm in. I'm all the way in. All right, we have another question. Let's jump into this, and then we'll talk through some of the rest of the games. Anthony Yokovan, hope I pronounced that. Yeah, Yokovan. That looks right. I'm doing it phonetically, by the way. Anthony wants to know Julio Jones, Deontay Johnson. See, you can't get away with Johnson when you're sponsored by Manscaped, manscaped.com, promo code ZONE, or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. What do you think? Full point PPR needs to start one. Anthony said Julio, Deontay, and Clyde Edwards.
Whew, that's a tough one. All right, so Deontay Johnson is at Buffalo. I think I'm going to eliminate that from consideration immediately. Not that I don't think it's a good play, but I really like the other two plays. So CEH at home versus Cleveland. First of all, I'm going to tell you that not only the fact that you brought up that they have got all these brand new defensive starters, there's no hitting and there's no preseason anymore. So these guys, every defense, I think that I've always felt that lack of repetitions hurts the defense more than the offense. If you're out of sync on defense, you make one little mistake, there's a guy flying wide open downfield, right? So I think this week is going to be high scoring overall. I just want to get that out of the way. But now the last one is Tennessee at home versus Arizona. That is real tempting. Julio or CEH? Well, I think I'd take my shot at Julio in that new offense. At home versus Arizona, they don't really scare me, and I could definitely see him getting open deep.
I'm going to pull this move on you again because I'm always going to give you some context, and I know Jesse was too. Talking about over-unders. Julio, for me, if I was the underdog, I'm always going to look at what my matchup dictates I need to do. If you need the guy in a high-scoring game that is going to give you the capability of putting up a week-winning week, then you need Julio Jones. But if you are in a matchup that it's close and you want to get the guaranteed touches that you can, because outside of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, do you know, I'm sure you do, you're a degenerate dynasty gamer like I am, but do you know who the backup in Kansas City is?
Yeah, Darrell Williams.
Darrell Williams. So I mean, if I'm looking for guaranteed touches, I would say this from a volume standpoint, I think my volume threshold would be CEH, then Deontay, then Julio. I would say that. Because there's no guarantee that Julio is going to come out in week one and get a ton of volume. Deontay Johnson averaged like 10 targets a game last year. Actually, I think a little bit over 10 targets a game. So if you're looking for a volume play because you're in a close matchup, I'm going to go CEH. If you're looking for the guy who's got the most upside to win you the week, it's Julio Jones. I'm not trying to, but it's something to think about. So I'm going to rank him CEH, Julio Jones, then Deontay Johnson. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and I said Julio expecting this week to be a high-scoring week overall. So I want the potential for the highest scoring player, and to me that is Julio. However, normally on any given Sunday, I'm going to go with the running back, the starting running back over a wide receiver. That's just me. That's how I play football. That's how I play fantasy football. I like the safe play. But on a day like today, I would probably go Julio.
And you were correct. Again, I'm just going to leave sports books pulled up so we can reference them throughout the rest of the show. But the Cardinals at Tennessee, 54-point over and under. So you simply divide that number by 7, and you are looking at a lot of points. You're looking at about 8 TDs. You're looking at really 7 TDs and a couple of field goals. So that's pretty good, right? You're pretty good. Here's one that I just found out. Let me hit you with some breaking news. You ready?
Yes.
All right, did you really think I wouldn't have a breaking news sounder? Trey Sermon inactive for today's
Whoa.
game at the Detroit Football Lions, the number one team of our main man, the man of the hour, and the man with the power, Jerry Sinclair. The Lions are not facing Trey Sermon. Dude, that's got to put Raheem Mostert on a lightning bolt for today. Tyler and Lou from the Daily Destroyer are going to be hopping on here shortly. But what does this do for the backfield in San Francisco? Well, not in San Francisco, but for San Francisco in Detroit.
Well, I mean, Mostert is a must start at this point, right? But on a deeper, on a deeper level, this sounds like J. Michael Hasty might be a decent flex play if you're stuck.
What about the I'm drawing a blank. The rookie, Khalil Herbert. Is that right?
No, Elijah Moore.
No, Elijah Mitchell. That's
Elijah
it.
Mitchell, that's the one.
Elijah Moore in New York
Right.
on the other side
Right.
of the country. Elijah Mitchell, maybe? He's got to be Mr. Min Cash, Mr. Min Salary in DFS lineups. Not really my bag. I am so grateful to have Tyler and Lou over on the Daily Destroyer. It's the new DFS show that drops on Saturdays here on the DWZ Football Network. I am not a DFS guy, but I do know football. And I do know. I'm real quick. I might be making a live wager here on DraftKings. By the way, perfectly legal. I live in the state of Indiana, and we have Jason Van Buren in the YouTube chat saying Elijah Mitchell, baby. I like it. I am going to RB props. I am going to rushing. Do bear with me.
Yeah. So Hasty was getting some
No,
fun
it
in
shot
the
up.
preseason.
It shot up about 15 yards when I was perusing these on Friday. Mostert was about 59.5 on Friday, which I didn't love or hate. But now that Sermon is off the board, it shot up to 72. By the way, can I hit you with another prop that I like that I'm not putting on my official ledger? But,
Absolutely. We've got some more breaking news when you're done
all right.
with that.
Okay,
as well.
hold on. You have breaking news?
Yes, sir.
All right, hold on. I got to play the sounder.
And another surprise inactive, Zach Moss in Buffalo is not playing today.
Whoa, Devin Singletary, rocket ship. Now, didn't they bring in some other crumb bums and shoe clerks?
Breida, Matt Breida.
You say I'd love a burrito about right now. That may be my lunch in an hour. We're 1 hour from kickoff, and wow, Matt. Wow, did it say why?
Let's see here. Hold on, I'm in the middle of
No, you're
my
good.
lineup.
You're
Trying to get
good.
him out of one of my lineups.
So guys, this is what to expect on football Sunday school, because we're going to have a lot going on in these games. So what'd you read? I know you're adjusting lineups. I'm going to have to do the same.
What Sleeper says is he should have been over the offseason ankle surgery. He was fine in the preseason. So either he had an injury pop up late in the week or broke a team rule, or McDermott feels like he's just not all the way back.
And then I have a question for you to research while I expound on this one a little bit. Can you double check DK Metcalf? I would like to think that if he wasn't playing, it would have been bigger news by now. But he popped up with a late calf injury on Friday. I actually heard about it yesterday. For me, this is just you can flex Devin Singletary with no worry. I don't want to say with reckless abandon. That feels like a bad way to put anything as it relates to Devin Singletary. But I mean, it's a volume game. And if you're looking for a minimum of 6 to 8 points with some upside, that could be your guy. So okay, here was my other prop in the Jacksonville. We have company. What's up, Kyle?
Hey.
Good to see you, boys.
We are just sitting here talking up the last minute news that Zach Moss and Trey Sermon aren't in the lineup this week. What are you thinking?
Zach Moss. No, but for real, if you own Zach Moss, I don't know why you would do that. But yeah, even that's the funny thing about that Zach Moss news. As much as I just joked around about it, I think it makes Devin Singletary flex worthy if you're looking for one. I wouldn't have said that, I don't know, anytime in the last 10 months. But right out of the gate here against Pittsburgh, I think Singletary's flex worthy. I'm not jumping him up, though, as much as I am with Mostert. I think Mostert's going to freaking eat today. The game script should be extremely positive for him. And really, I mean, I guess for you guys, I was listening, and so I might have just missed it. But thoughts on Sermon, like the long-term dynasty prospects? Are we hopping on this? Are we trying to take advantage of panicky owners?
If you can get Sermon at a discount right now, absolutely.
I am. I'm not know about a discount, but then again, people do dumb shit all the time in Dynasty.
I mean, if you could get Sermon for a little more than you drafted him at, if you can get him for a second and a third right now, I'm doing that all day. I mean, I'm not giving up a first for him, but yeah, a combination of second and third picks, absolutely.
The one thing that, because again, I'm trying to produce and help host the show. Why did Sermon miss? Did he miss the
I heard
flight?
it was healthy scratch. I have not. I've been running around too, but I have not seen any news of an injury. And he was not on the injury report, as far as I know, either. Was not really a question going into today. So, yeah, not quite sure. I'm not really seeing it either. So maybe I missed it, but I haven't seen any injury news on him. So,
hey, Kyle, check your mic real quick. I think you're going through your mic on your computer and not your actual microphone. I'll tell you a prop bet I like real quick, and but let me answer that because I'm kind of all over the place. The Trey Sermon news is somewhat alarming, but again, I like the thought of trying to buy. You're going to need running back depth in Dynasty, and you're going to need running back depth in any form of fantasy football this year. If this shit's happening in week 1, what the hell do you think week 13 is going to look like? It's going to be a killing field out there. And, all the Trey Sermons and all the guys that the national shows don't want you to believe are worth rostering are going to be the guys worth rostering. So my friend Kyle here, in his lovely Cowboys hat, he put out a waiver wire sniping article that dropped yesterday. It's actually a vlog now, by the way. It's no longer an actual article. He can't type anymore. But he's also a master of the spoken word. So your 12-minute vlog on the Dynasty Warzone YouTube channel, well, what kind of guys were you talking about yesterday?
Yeah, and I mean, it's more that I can type. I just refuse to edit now. So that's mainly the reason one positive to moving into the podcast form of that. Before I dive into a few of those players, am I sounding better now, Memphis? I think I got it fixed. So, yeah, the big one for me, there were two that I'm super hyped on. First is Ben Roethlisberger in 1 QB leagues. He doesn't have a great matchup this week. He was not really drafted in many places, but if you're in any redraft leagues and you're in need of a quarterback, if you're a streamer, Roethlisberger is a slam dunk. He's got the Raiders and the Bengals the next 2 weeks at home. He's only 30% owned as of yesterday on Yahoo, so he's probably readily available. So if you're looking for a streamer, if you're the Justin Fields, Trey Lance owner trying to make your way through the first month of the season, Roethlisberger could be a 2-week play for you. So he's one of my guys. And then the other one, he's a little bit more owned, but still he was around 42% owned as of yesterday. Might have gone up with the news that Keelan Cole and Jamison Crowder are both inactive, but Elijah Moore, bro, like I don't understand how he is not over 50% owned. That's usually my threshold for waiver wire sniping. So I am adding him if he's in any, even like shallow leagues, he needs to be rostered. So those are my two favorites. A little bonus I'll just add on there is Austin Hooper. I think he's a good streamer today, and I think he's a good streamer next week as well against Houston. So he is about 50% owned. So he's another guy that I liked. So, but definitely Ben and Moore.
Well, so this will like to give I don't want to say confirmation bias, but I do want to share with the listeners that this is now, we didn't have a chance to plan this before the show. I also like Austin Hooper. I mentioned his gambling prop earlier in the show. It's 33 or 34 and a half yards over under. And he's one of my season-long plays. The Chiefs last year were in the bottom 8 versus the tight end in fantasy points. And I believe Tyron Mathieu is out today as well with COVID. So you have one of their best safeties out, and you have a real low passing prop on Austin Hooper. Certainly one that I could see flying because Austin Hooper does have a pretty good tight end matchup. So I'll throw this one to you. So I'm not a big jet sweep, jet motion, all this stuff with the running back. By the way, I had a small prop bet on your boy, Tony Pollard, on Thursday night. I had him over 17.5 rushing yards. Do you remember early in the game where they did that like fake reverse to Amari Cooper?
Yes, the fake that was like just clear out in the
in
the wilderness.
He would have acted like had he actually turned loose of that ball,
Yeah.
there'd still be a pile trying to get on that football because he would have thrown it 10 yards backwards. But they counted that as a reception. So those 8 yards did not count as rushing yards. It counted as a reception.
Oh,
So I'm hoping that I can go to the sports books on Thursday with a stat correction and be like, refund my money.
yeah.
You sons of... As a matter of fact, pay me my winnings because he finished with 14 rushing yards. So
I definitely remember the play because I was thinking as soon as Pollard with that fake, I was like, dude, the guy couldn't have shot off a flare and been more obvious that he did not give that ball up around the edge. But I don't remember if it started off with I don't remember it starting off with a forward shovel or anything. But so that would be one to watch.
Oh yeah, that one. But Laviska Chenault has a rushing prop of 2.5 yards.
Oh, let's go.
I just think back to Urban Meyer's days, in college. This just feels like a Curtis Samuel, and this is the reason why people can't let Curtis Samuel go to this day. The power of belief is a hell of a thing. But I mean, do you just not see, especially in a game against Houston? We were talking about this with my James Robinson prop. Houston gave up 2,500 yards rushing last year. And that defense, at least on paper, didn't appear to get any better. So I could just easily see them running some kind of a reverse to Laviska, and I think you cashed this one pretty easily. Mm-hmm. He may get one, kind of like Debo, the way that the San Francisco 49ers used Debo back during the 1 year that he was healthy. We call that the Super Bowl year. And he looked really good. So there's a couple of things. So, Kyle, what else did you bring to the table today? What else? Is there anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think, you talk about it a lot on, obviously looking at the lines and everything. I know that you guys were talking about Julio Jones earlier, a little bit ago. That Titans Cardinals game should just be insanity. I'm looking to get any of those guys in my lineup. I think I talked about it earlier last week as far as Chase Edmonds or Barkley. The more and more that I'm looking at it, obviously the Barkley news changes things a bit too, but I'm trying to get all the Cardinals that I can in my lineup, and all those Titans I can in my lineup. I think that's going to be just the biggest game of the day. So I think there's going to be just a ton of of points scored in that one. So that one's definitely the matchup that I'm most excited about today. The other one is that Buffalo and Pittsburgh game. I know there was some worry, I think, about some of the Pittsburgh receivers, even Chase Claypool. And I think when I looked earlier, Pittsburgh was 6.5 point dogs on that. And the over under wasn't as high as I thought it would be. I actually put a little bit of money on the over in that matchup just because I think that could be a high scoring game, even if Buffalo does cover. But I like all the Steelers wide receivers for today as well. I've seen them ranked a little bit lower than they were in the early season. But what was your guys' thoughts on that Steelers passing game for today?
I want any part of the short to intermediate guys. Mm-hmm. Buffalo wasn't very good against the tight end last year. But I don't know. I don't trust Eric Ebron. I don't think anyone ever has. But I think if you were looking for a big odds flyer from a gambling standpoint on, an anytime touchdown guy, could be Pat Freiermuth. And he's going to be a guy, this will be a name. I'm going to do a prediction. I'm going to get my crystal ball out. Somewhere around week 8, Kyle is going to be telling you on his waiver wire sniping article about rookie tight end Pat Freiermuth. I'm going to set the under over Pat Freiermuth waiver wire sniping 7.5. So you could bet the over or under of when Kyle actually has Pat Freiermuth out there. But I like that game. I think both teams are just going to spread them out. I'll share a couple of theories with you on some things. So one of my favorite podcasts to listen to is called The Dream Preview. It's a bunch of Vegas guys, and it was about a 3.5 hour pod, and they all loved Arizona plus the 3 points at Nashville, or I guess Tennessee Titans. And the reason why is that they drafted a big linebacker. I don't remember his name. I think it started with a Z, if I remember correctly. They've got Isaiah Simmons, and they feel like they have the kind of front with a healthy J.J. Watt, at least for now, that they have the kind of front that can really slow down Derrick Henry. They didn't say stop, but they get information with Lance Zierlein because one of the hosts has ties to Houston, and they think Lance Zierlein told them that schematically Arizona could, and that's the key word, could create some problems with the speed and emphasis they put on the linebacker position. So, Jesse, what were some of your thoughts on Pittsburgh and then the Arizona and Titans game?
Well, we'll go with the Arizona Titans game. I touched on it a little bit before, but yeah, I expect that to be a really high-scoring game as well. So, good call by Kyle. As far as the Steelers go, I just benched Claypool as a flex in one of my leagues for Devin Singletary. So that'll tell you where I am. That's kind of my cutoff. I'm still starting Juju and I'm still starting Deontay Johnson, and I'm hoping Deontay Johnson found a little extra stickum, or maybe something works a little better than stickum this year and catches more than half of those 10 targets that he's likely to see. But yeah, I could absolutely see Deontay Johnson breaking open for one, or catching a short one and breaking it. I really feel a Najee Harris day. I think he's going to come out in his rookie debut, and I think he's going to turn a lot of heads today. I expect a Najee day, to be honest.
Go ahead, Kyle.
I was going to say, I did find on here, it does look like Sermon was just, healthy scratch. So just to confirm that, like, that definitely is that's concerning if you were counting on him right away. And we talked about for Dynasty, like, and my kind of philosophy on this a little too is, it'd be great if we stumbled into a starting running back, where we had him, I know in one QB league, Sermon was going end of the first, in super flex leagues, maybe your early second. And when you look at the contracts there in San Francisco, I think you can kind of color by numbers just a bit and just look that, Sermon should be the guy going forward after this season. Mostert and Jeff Wilson, who's currently on the PUP, are pending free agents. So, Sermon for me was a little bit longer to play anyway, but if anyone is concerned about his prospects, even for 2021, I don't mind jumping on him. If you see him on the wire, you can pick him up for cheap. If you see somebody in your league chat, upset that they already lost their guy, that they were banking on. Cause I saw Sermon as recently as last week. I saw him taken in the 5th round in a draft. That guy is going to be freaking out that his guy that he picked as his running back 2 is not even active due to healthy scratch. So I think down the stretch, though, I think Memphis has been talking about a lot. I know I've been trying to look for some of these running backs you can get for a little bit cheaper that could be in line for some game action, whether either, via injury or just the path of overtaking the starter, a la Javonte Williams. So I think Sermon is still a guy that I'm going to be on just as much, as I can, or that I was in the preseason as I am now. So for now, I'll take the look and we'll see. It's just week 1 and we'll play it by ear. But that one was definitely the shocker, I think, of the morning so far.
Let me ask you a question. How likely do you think, now Kyle, you've been my redraft go-to guy for a long time. How likely is this scenario to play out in someone's head in redraft this year? I drafted Trey Sermon real high, and now he's not doing very. I'm going to drop him, and I'm going to pick up the flavor of the week. What are the odds that on Wednesday morning, when waivers run in your league, whether it's fab or by record, 30% of Trey Sermon gets dropped? Is that a shocker?
Yeah, I want to pull up I want to double check. He should be owned he should be owned in almost every league. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up available in 65 to 70% of leagues after waivers run. And one thing I usually do, because it's going to happen unless there's like the the injury where there's a straight gold mine handcuff that is on the wire everywhere, right? Then I'm not going to pick up Ty Johnson, who scored a touchdown and got 50 yards. Like those types of guys, the 1 week wonder players, I'm not usually the one to go after those types of guys. Usually my play and redraft is to just sit back, let everybody else do that, and then keep my waiver priority or keep my fab dollars and then jump on whoever was dropped that week. I think Trey Sermon is pretty much going to be the poster child for that after week 1. So that's the route I would go. And again, I'm going to talk about that on the waiver wire show in just a day or two here. I'm just going to kind of sit back a little bit unless there's some crazy injury. I'm usually going to hang back on week 1.
So Kyle is giving you an addendum to waiver wire sniping from yesterday. Go out and look to see if Trey Sermon is available, because someone could have dropped him right now. And on Sundays, guys depends on your league rules. They don't typically go back to waivers. They don't go. Yeah, they don't go back to waivers. They're usually available. It just depends on your league. I've seen it both ways. So I would, because maybe you can trade for him. Maybe you've got like a Michael Carter. Because here's the thing, because you guys know I love Javonte Williams. I don't think he's going to be awesome week 1. I think he's going to be awesome down the stretch. If that ends up being Trey Sermon's seasonal arc, it's not going to surprise me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mentioned, so Sermon, I did confirm he's 93% rostered right now, so he's probably already been dropped in some redraft leagues, like you said. There's some guys out there. 93
rostered.
Yep,
that makes sense. National. Because when we do this show, we got to remember that sometimes it's too easy to put ourselves in the mindset of the dynasty degenerates that we are. We know everybody. Mm-hmm. You get into some of our buddies like Dallas over at the Rookie Rundown, or Kane and Shane over at the Debbie Marketplace. These degenerative bastards know about these guys since high school. So we have to understand that we're like the upper 1%, and that our more casual redraft playing brothers and sisters don't always know as much about these guys as we do. All right, got a great question from my man Darren Gray. Darren, you ask all the questions you want because you're Darren. But he wants to know Tyson Williams or Damien Harris. Now, first of all, it's Damien Harris, and here's why. Last year, the New England Patriots were 1-1 against the Dolphins. At home, they won 21-11. At the end of the season, I think it was week 14, they lost in Miami 22-12. And in the game they won, they had 42 rush attempts. Now, that number skewed a little bit because Cam Newton was the quarterback for that game. So I'm thinking, who's going to get the ball? And I think that's how you beat Miami's defense. I think their secondary is pretty awesome with Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. But I'm not too sure. They let a lot of linebackers go. They let Van Noy go. They did trade for the guy from Houston. But I do want to mention this on Tyson Williams. I'm not going to out the Dynasty services because I don't remember who they were, because you're 100% culpable for your takes on these streets. But it was a good person with a bad take. They were like, you should trade Tyson Williams right now in Dynasty. I'm like, how about no? How about no? How about you trade him on Tuesday? Yeah. If you got him for nothing and you want to get something out of him because you got him on the waivers earlier in the season, those are 2 big thumbs up just for you, buddy. Mm-hmm. But why wouldn't you do it on Tuesday morning? He's playing the Raiders, the same Raiders who gave up 2,000 rushing yards last year. 2,000, that's 140 a game. 2,000 rushing yards last year and 24 rushing touchdowns. Don't you want him to go full Mike Gesicki? Not Gesicki, Gillespie? Who was the running back from the Patriots a few years ago? Gillislee, Mike Gillislee. He had like 3 rushing touchdowns against the Kansas City Chiefs in 2017. Absolutely wrecked shop. Never to be heard from again.
Yeah, I think he got cut a few weeks later, didn't he?
Whoa!
And picked up by Miami.
How many times did they do that? I was gonna say.
I'm just saying. Let Tyson Williams get you your Mike Gillislee payout. Mm-hmm. So Kyle, what do you think? Is it Gillislee or Williams? I'm sorry, Gillislee. Fuck Gillislee. Is it Tyson?
Yeah, I'm not gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with the other guy.
Is it? Do you want the 2 guys in the league, or do you want the blind box that's Mike Gillislee who's on the couch?
This could even be a boat. Williams or Harris? I will go with Harris still. It's full PPR. Neither of them, from the question that Darren asked, neither of them I expect to catch really any passes. If you get 1 or 2 out of them, that is just gravy on top. So I'm going to lean Harris. This is extremely close, but I just have a little bit more faith in the town. I'll lean towards the talent of Harris and the fact that I do think that while both will have the chance to be the lead rushing downs back, I think Harris might have a little bit more opportunity for a touchdown in this one. But I like Williams a lot this week. Like he is just a guy that I think, Memphis, you're exactly right. There's no reason to do it right now. Wait till Tuesday. Williams is probably going to hit 80 total yards, just because that's what that rushing offense does. Chance for a touchdown, and then you can just bail ass. And I definitely would. I mean, this is not a guy that they were counting on in any way. Everything happened to that backfield, and now they've added 3 corpses. I think one of them will make its way ahead of Williams, at least in the short term. And I don't really think there's much long-term value with Williams. So Tuesday, I'm selling him. But for now, I'll still go Harris over Williams. But Williams is a solid flex, even in PPR.
All right, I'm going to give this one to Jesse real quick. But hold on, we have some more breaking news. Not really breaking news because Josh Reynolds sucks. Even though Kyle at one time did like Josh Reynolds. But I bring that up because we mentioned the over-under in this game, 54 points. Gonna be a lot of passing in this game. And if Julio Jones is option 1 or 2 and A.J. Brown's option 1 or 2, who's option 3? Anthony Firkser. If you're a DFS gamer or you're looking at an Anthony Firkser prop on DraftKings or Barstool, might not be a bad time to take a look at an Anthony Firkser prop in a game where they're going to need a third option. So there you go. Let's see here. Mike Kinney's back. He wants to know, Matt Breida worth a pickup, a number 3 running back in Buffalo? No. Unless Zach Moss got arrested last night and I just haven't heard the news yet. I don't think so. Because they don't believe in running the ball. And then before I get back to this question, Zach, I'm going to let you go 2 for. Not 1, but 2 times. I'm going to set some lineups and make a prop bet while you're doing all that. But for you, I have 2 questions. You got to answer Darren's question, Tyson Williams or Damien Harris, and then you can answer Mike's question, is Breida worth a pickup? And go.
Gotcha. So Damien Harris is a no-brainer to me. Anytime Belichick comes out and says he loves a running back, that doesn't happen very often. You might want to ride that running back. Tyson Williams, absolutely. I think he's going to be a factor this year. I think he kind of has to be by default, but let's get a look at it, before we actually start that guy. Also, I want to say real quick, my apology to Mike Gillisley and his family, to his mother. I didn't mean to insult you or your son's honor. I was thinking of Jonas Gray, was the running back that scored a bunch of touchdowns and then got cut later in the year. So the next question, is Breida worth a pickup in number 3 running back in Buffalo? I have him on 1 roster, and it's a very, very deep league with no taxi squad. The taxi squad got absorbed by our bench. So it's basically, I think, 35 spots in that league. So he's worth a pickup in that league. Otherwise, no, I'm not going to waste my fab. I'm not going to waste my waiver priority on someone like Matt Breida, who, number 1, can't stay healthy. Number 2, was only relevant in San Francisco. When he went to Miami, he didn't get any run, and when he did, he wasn't effective at all. So no, I don't think Matt Breida has the size or the ability to really be effective in the NFL. He's again, Buffalo's running game goes through Josh Allen anyway.
All right, I agree. Again, I'm going to reference those Vegas Sharps. They think that Buffalo is more than happy to let you run the ball while not running the ball themselves. I think Buffalo is sneaky analytics driven, and they have no interest in running the ball. And their preseason and everything we've seen over them over their last, they play 17, 18, 19 games last year and a preseason game or 2 this year. They seem to have no interest in running the ball. So he could get a sneaky goal line, play here or there, but there's not going to be a lot of PPR down work. And so Kyle, Breida, anything on Breida?
What's the saying go? Fool me once. I'm on fool me like 15 with Matt Breida. I'm done with Matt Breida. I'm sorry. No. Yeah. Unless there's a situation that Memphis talked about where like Zach Moss isn't going to be on the team the rest of the year. I'm not interested in owning him at all. So there's that.
I mean, Zach Moss would have had to have gone, some combination of Aaron Hernandez, O.J. Simpson, Deshaun Watson, all of these, bad things that NFL players have done for me to want to pick up Matt Breida. I would much rather go out and see if a guy like, give me a like a Marlon Mack. One thing I like doing in a redraft league is I like picking up a random handcuff back off of waivers, just a random one. And I know it sucks to be looking for an injury, but man, you pick up you pick up Dalvin Cook's handcuff, you pick up Zeke. I guess Tony Pollard's going to be rostered in a lot of spots, but you pick up the right handcuff in the right spot, and you get lucky. It's to the moon. So I would much rather have one of those guys that, if they were to become the man in their running back game, then it's going to be profitable for my roster. Kyle, what were you going to say?
I was going to say like a few of the guys I've been adding like in super deep leagues is like Chris Evans or even Gallman still. Like he's inactive today, not a big surprise. Like those types of guys are more similar to that vein than Breida, who is just a body that will be wearing a jersey on Sunday because of the situation with Moss. But yeah, I'm not interested in Breida. One thing I did, this is like definitely like degenerate news. But speaking of really crappy running backs, Josh Kelly for the Chargers was inactive today, even with Eckler banged up. So it looks like our boy Larry Roundtree the third or whatever, if you're looking for that deep guy that could overtake Justin Jackson for the rushing downs work, that he seems to have the leg up. So usually, like I talked about earlier, like I'm not overreacting to the week 1 news on Sermon necessarily, but we've seen Josh Kelly suck for an entire year. So if you're looking in a super, super deep league, Roundtree is somebody that just became a little bit more interesting than he was maybe 24 hours ago. So I'll just kind of put that into the atmosphere.
All right. Well, let me ask Jesse, what do you make of that news? Because what I take from that news is not that I want to do anything with a round tree or a square tree or an octagon tree or anybody. It tells me that Austin Eckler must be more healthy, and that the news on Friday about his hamstring must have been much ado about nothing. So I'm going to ask Jesse, what do you take about this information?
Yeah, I'm not making any moves or really reacting to this because it's what I expected. From everything I read, Larry Roundtree outplayed Josh Kelly in the preseason and training camp. And I didn't expect either one of them to have a big role anyway. And from what I read this morning, Eckler is not really supposed to have any playtime restrictions. I think he's going to be fine. Do you have a couple other things when you have a chance?
Sure, no, man. Fire away.
All right, so another really deep degenerate bit of news is Eno Benjamin inactive today.
Well, first of all, you guys are killing me because, I mean, that should be twice.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
We haven't got the etiquette down yet.
Yeah,
we'll work on that.
It's week 1. Very choppy, very choppy. But yeah, that's got to be good news for Chase Edmonds and James Conner. But go ahead, Jesse. This is your story.
Few other things. Want to give you props for sending love to my boy Alexander Madison. If Dalvin Cook were to go down, and I believe that is very possibly a league winner right there. So really, really great guy to have on your roster, whether you have Cook or not. If you have Cook, he's an absolute must roster. Same with Pollard and Zeke. The other thing I was going to say was, along those random handcuff lines, don't forget about Devontae Booker. Saquon is coming off an ACL, absolutely could have some soft tissue injuries throughout the year. Groins, hamstrings pop up on guys that weren't able to condition themselves properly because they were rehabbing so much. He didn't practice a whole lot in camp. So if one of those injuries were to pop up, Devontae Booker is kind of a deep play if you're stuck.
All right, I don't have like any like harken back music like some time machine music, but on a certain show, you know it, you love it, we all do. It's called the Fantasy Football Smackdown. I was reminding people that with your 15th, 16th pick that for this very reason, you should have drafted Devontae Booker. And I know it's very is out vogue a thing? I know in vogue means to be in trend, be very trendy. Is it out vogue? It's very out vogue right now to handcuff your stud. Now Monday through Friday, maybe it is, but you've made it to Sunday. The game's getting ready to start. If your handcuff is on the waiver wire of your absolute bell cow, like if you have Christian McCaffrey on your roster and Chuba Hubbard is out there on waivers, is today not the day to pick him up? And then you drop him on Tuesday, right? You put him as your waiver claim. You drop him on Tuesday. You pick up Austin Hooper, whoever our good friend Kyle August of the FF SmackDown has recommended for you to pick up. And then just repeat that process. If you're number one, like, because anchor RB was a huge strategy this year. You get your stud RB in the first round, then you load up on wide receivers. That was the in vogue strategy. If you built your roster around anchor RB, Kyle, I'll ask you, because again, you're the redraft guy. Does that make sense? Is Sunday before game day, is maybe you don't carry them all week, but isn't today the day?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can usually safely kind of stash them on the wire a lot of times too. If you're still, like, usually my go-to and like, some kind of the standard leagues where you have kickers, like I just drop my kicker for the week and and that way I use the extra roster spot that way. But let's say you're not in that situation. You can still, you can leave your handcuffs, especially like those super, super low end guys, just on the wire through the week, but then get them back on your roster on Sunday. Why not? It's definitely better to be safe than sorry there. So I do that a lot, where I have leagues where they have, the roster spot that I can utilize. I've talked about waiver wire sniping and some of the bigger names you could stash. But a lot of times, like if we're getting down to, some pretty deep ads, like I talked about, like guys like Damien Brown or Cam Sims, right? With this, the Curtis Samuel injury going on IR, right? Like those are guys like, yeah, I'd like to stash them in normal leagues, but if I have a running back that has a very cheap and attainable handcuff, I'd rather just roster that guy through the week and then, or through the weekend, sorry. And then, obviously adjust on Tuesday, but yeah, 100%. That's what I would recommend as well.
All right, Jesse, anything to add?
No, but I have a couple start sit questions.
Sure, fire away. Are you getting them from are these yours or these?
These are mine. I want to know what you guys think.
Hell yeah!
So in a standard non PPR league, dynasty league, am I starting? And there are bonuses for deep touchdowns, right? Okay, so am I starting? Long touchdowns. What I'm saying, Robbie Anderson or Mike Williams.
I am going Robbie Anderson. The Jets' corners are putrid, just horrible. And if there's a game where Sam Darnold is ever going to be motivated to lay the smackdown on somebody, and if you and think about, I always look at this as part of like the meta game. If you're a coach and you want to tell your quarterback, hey, I got your back. Let's go out there and hang a 43 burger on these guys. I could eat, and same thing with Robbie Anderson. This has all been dubbed the Sam Darnold revenge game. What about Robbie Anderson? They didn't pay him. They let him walk. And he just re-signed for big money. I could see Robbie getting a couple of deep targets. So if I get bonuses, non-PPR, I'm going to swing for the fences and go with Rock and Robbie.
All right, same team, same question. Mike Williams or Rager?
I'm going to Kyle.
Yeah, it's Williams then for me. It's Robbie's pretty safe in that first head-to-head, but then for me, then it's Mike Williams. I think it's a tougher matchup against Washington today, and Rager has a dream matchup against the Falcons. So I get, well, it's definitely closer than usual, but I'm still going to lean Williams. I just think that's a guy that you can count on a lot more right now than Rager in that offense.
Okay, awesome.
All right.
I do have one more.
All right, fire away.
I got one more in me, and then unfortunately, I'm not like you guys.
Yeah,
I got to roll.
You're good. So go ahead, and Kyle, you take this one first, because we're going to do that. We have another couple of questions in the chat, and then I still owe one more prop bet.
All right, so half PPR as my flex. Also, bonuses for long touchdowns in this league. Darrell Henderson or DJ Chark. Or Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, and in that, I'm gonna. You said Darrell Henderson, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna go that route. I don't. I'm not necessarily really high on what we've seen from Chark. So just like in this offseason, obviously the news was a little bit rough. So I'm a little bit lower on him this week to say that, just because I want to kind of see it. I know the matchup's great and everything, and I don't think Henderson's going to take advantage of those long touchdown bonuses. But I'm going to lean that route because I think he's going to be the lead dog in a game where the game script should be positive as far as them playing from ahead. So I'm going to go with Henderson and lean the running back in that spot.
Are you favored or the underdog on this one?
Let's take a look. Really good question.
He's favored because he's a war zone member.
I'm actually the underdog because I went against Dak and Amari Cooper.
Oh, there you go.
I'm down. I'm going to go Chark. I'm going to go Chark. And the reason why is Marvin Jones is going to play, but he comes into the game a little banged up. And that means he's not going to play. But, I could see Chark having that long bomb. And you need the home run. You absolutely need the home run. So I'm going to lean Chark. You can't, if you were the big favorite, if it was the reverse and you just needed some points to stay ahead. But playing from behind, I don't see Darrell Henderson really giving you more than 15 if he falls in the end zone. Go ahead, Kyle. Oh,
I'm out, guys. It's good hanging out with you.
Good to see you, Kyle.
We'll see you in a Sunday in the future. Hey, catch that guy on Saturdays, waiver wire sniping here on YouTube, and catch him every Tuesday and Friday on podcast on the Dynasty Warzone Football Network. Kyle, have a good Sunday, man. Good luck.
Appreciate you guys. Good luck.
See you, man. All right, Jesse. So I am going to throw you this one first because I'm doing a little research for a listener. Pittman or Marvin Jones? Half-point PPR.
Well, Wentz is playing this week, so I'm going to go Pittman. I like it, and like you said, Marvin Jones is a little bit banged up, and we have no idea what that offense is going to look like. I'm going with the safer play there.
I am going Pittman as well, and that is because this ties into another prop bet that I like. I'm going to cover that here in a minute, but Seattle gave up the second most passing yards in the league last year. And they traded away or let walk. I think he may have been a restricted free agent. Griffin. I'm sorry. Is it Shaquille?
Shaquille Griffin. Yeah.
Yeah. He's now. Speaking of Jacksonville, he's now in Jacksonville. So they let their best corner walk. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game in Indy, and I'll go based off the volume that I think is going to be needed. Could I see Marvin getting behind somebody for a big TD? Sure. But if you're looking for a volume play in a game where they're going to be competing, is going to be Pittman for me. All right, I'm going to give you this next one first because I'm checking something. Christian Durantes, I hope I got that correct. Durantes, looks right. Fitz or Darnold? I think he means Fitzmagic because Larry Fitzgerald is out of the league. So Fitzmagic or Darnold?
All right, so Fitzmagic is playing against
the
Superchargers, right?
LA.
So, yeah, not the easiest matchup in the world.
You did say San Diego, by the way. You're busted. We're gonna make like a fine for any time someone says the Oakland Raiders or the San Diego Chargers or the St. Louis Rams. We need like a fine.
I'll never get over that. Yeah,
it'd be like a buck an occurrence.
Yeah, I will never get over that one. Say they are the San Diego Superchargers, or Darnold. I'm sorry, I just need to look up the matchup real quick. Darnold at home against the Jets in a revenge game. I mean, that's a perfect situation for him, right? So if you're going to start Darnold, you start Darnold this week. I'm guessing that you drafted, if this is a startup, you drafted Darnold over Fitz, and you drafted Fitz to be your third guy. It's not the best matchup for Fitz. Definitely could see a couple picks thrown in there. I'm going Darnold. Yeah, I like the setup.
I'm going to make it two. I'm going to make it two Darnolds, and here's why. The Chargers were the fifth toughest matchup last year for fantasy QBs, and they got Derwin James back. So a lot not to like. Obviously, I love my man Scary Terry. I think he's the only pass catcher in the Washington side of the ball that I'm starting this week. But yeah, just looking at the data from last year, that's a tough matchup. And then I flip the script and I look at it. The Jets were the third best matchup for fantasy quarterbacks last year. Now you got to add in the revenge factor. Now you got to add in the fact that the Jets corners are absolutely terrible. You add in the fact that the superiority. It's like, you look at strengths versus weaknesses. I mean, you're looking at DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Terrace Marshall, Christian McCaffrey against absolute bums. And again, I think Sam Darnold's got a lot to prove. I know I would. I'll ask you, if you were in Sam Darnold's shoes, would you have a lot to prove in this game?
Yeah, you think?
I mean, he's been destroyed. I mean, I listened to the PFF podcast, Vegas podcast. You listen to it, and everybody destroys Sam Darnold. And again, if this is the matchup that you can't kill, it might be time. So the next one, Christian's back. He hit us with a twofer. It's a two-piece. He wants to know Visca or Judy PPR.
Now, this one's a little bit difficult, I guess. I'm going Judy. I don't know what I don't know what that offense is going to look like. I think Judy is more talented than LaVisca. And, well, let's see what that matchup is. Denver at New York Giants. Giants do have a tough defense, and their corners are pretty solid. LaVisca's going up against Houston. Let's play the matchup and go LaVisca. Judy, the more talented player. Visca, the more talented but less experienced quarterback. Yeah, I'm going LaVisca just on an upside play there. I think the matchup's just way better.
I am actually going to go Judy. And the reason why is similar is I think the matchup is just a little bit better. And again, this all ties back to my initial thought of this being a James Robinson game. I think you're going to get a couple of touchdowns from Trevor Lawrence early. They want to feature the rookie. And then in the second half, it's how you want to get your first dub. You want to get in, you want to get out. Hopefully someone's gotten in Urban Meyer's ear and said, hey, there's no style points in the NFL. We get W's and we go out. We're going to lean on James Robinson and maybe a little Carlos Hyde. Before we get going, I want to hit my third and final prop bet of the weekend. Give these guys time to get down on it because it is a 1 p.m. game. I'm going to pivot. I'm going to throw you a bonus one at the end. I'm going to go Anthony Ferkser. I just saw over, and I bet it while we were talking earlier, over 2.5 receptions against the Arizona Cardinals. When I realized Josh Reynolds was out, and I did some stats, I did some digging on the Arizona Cardinals. Tight ends had 121 targets versus them last year, and they had 74 receptions. So you're looking, not quite 4.5, almost 5 a game against the Cardinals. Again, if they get behind or this becomes a shootout, who's the third option? Julio and A.J. Brown can't get them all, so I'm going to go third prop bet of the week, Anthony Ferkser over 2.5 receptions. I found that one on DraftKings because I was in a hurry. All right, next start sit question. This one's, let's see here. Philip Lindsay, Gabe Davis, or Russell Gage. I'll tell you, it's not Philip Lindsay.
Yeah, he's the second rushing option, right? Where you expect David Johnson to get the third down work, and from all reports, Ingram is the lead back on rushing down. So basically, you're thinking about starting the backup on rushing downs, right? I don't unless there's an injury or unless things turn around in game script or hot hand kind of thing. It's definitely not something that you can start. There's definitely nothing that says Lindsay is a starting player in this league.
I would agree. So are you going Gabe Davis or Russell Gage?
This one's a little tougher. Gabe Davis, I think, has the chance to score you a long one. So maybe he's the upside play with a much lower floor. Gage, I think I like here because Rodney McLeod, the starting safety for the Eagles, is out. They're starting Kavon Wallace, second-year player who barely could get on the field last year. Avonte Maddox is the inside corner and didn't have the greatest year last year trying to play outside. He's moving back inside. We'll see. I think he had a really good first and second year and then kind of really went downhill last year. I'm definitely going Russell Gage because I think the matchup is really solid.
I would agree. If I was playing like in a PPR, I'm going to go Russell Gage. If I was like in a half point or non-point per reception leagues, I'm going to go Gabe Davis. I just think back to all the red zone targets that they were looking at Gabe Davis for. I like Gage and what I think it's going to be a sneaky shootout, by the way. I think if you have been on Jalen Hurts all season, then this could be your week because Atlanta's defense is terrible, and it's going to give these guys the opportunity to do some showcasing. So I could see that being a sneaky shootout. I actually like both. I would lean Davis by an eyelash, but I don't think you could. How about this? Your answer is not Philip Lindsay. Don't. It's close between Davis and Gage, but it's definitely not Lindsay.
I like
All right.
Gage as a floor play. I like Davis as a ceiling.
I like how you worded that. A little floor play. All right. Regina Nunez wants to know Jarvis Landry, Brandon Cooks, or Julio Jones. I think this one's pretty easy for me. I'm going to give it to you first.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, Julio.
100%. Brandon Cooks, and what could be the only argument I could make for Cooks is that they're behind and they may pepper him with a lot of volume. But for me, in the game with the highest under/over, or one of, I think it's the top 3, give me Julio Jones all day, every day.
Yeah, give me the guy that in a room full of alphas is the alpha.
It's one of those things. It's like, make it non-football related. It's that simple. If you literally walked in with these 3 guys, with like your grandma or your grandpa or anyone who doesn't watch football regularly, and say, hey, which one of these guys do you want to do the most athletic stuff? You're going to walk in the room and go, that guy. And you're going to go, no, that's not always the case. That's what we call the Dorial Green Beckham corollary. It doesn't always translate. But in this particular case, yeah, it's Julio Jones. And I feel pretty comfortable about that one. All right, I want to hit you with one more. You're a great guy. I notice you're wearing a Philadelphia Eagles t-shirt there.
That's right, sir.
Now,
Super Bowl champions.
Now, I know it wasn't Nick Foles, but you do know the man who orchestrated the first 13 games of that season that laid the groundwork for that team. Do you remember him, that fair-haired boy who's now in Indianapolis?
You mean the guy that's afraid of a little competition from a second-round pick?
That would be him, Carson Wentz. He was almost my third prop bet of the week. Barstool has Carson Wentz over under 241.5 passing yards, lay $1.10. And that was going to be my third. The Josh Reynolds news, and again, I'm chasing over unders here. The Eagles last year, they played the Seahawks. Wentz had 215 yards, so I'd be 25 yards short. And he didn't really have any weapons last year. Not that the weapons in Indy are great, but at home, Frank Reich, no Griffin. I'm not really sure what the pass rush looks like. The Colts could be playing from behind. This just seems to feel like a game where Carson Wentz is going to be probably in the 275 range. This line feels off. Like if it was like 261, I would be off of it. But and I know that if you look at the Seattle box score, if you're just box score chasing, you'll see that they were really tough against the pass the last few games of the year. But look at who they played down the back stretch of 2021. I mean, I'm looking at teams, they played the 49ers with a backup QB. Was that Nick Mullins or was that Bethard? They played the Rams with Jared Goff, where he got hurt. Some combination of Alex Smith, or it was Alex Smith, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Carson Wentz. I mean, I guess Kyler Murray. The best quarterback that they faced from November 15th on was Kyler Murray. And so it does look like, if you're just looking at the statistics, that defense did do real well down the backstretch. But they didn't face a whole lot of potent offenses either. So this is also part of me banking that Carson Wentz bounces back. Jesse, what else you got before we take this one in? We got about 10 minutes till game time.
Well, let's keep it with this Eagles game. A lot of times what's been sort of sticking in my brain all week is a lot of times you'll see a game evaluated by matchups, right? They'll go down position group by position group. All right, quarterbacks at Atlanta gets the check mark, right? Offensive line, the Eagles get the check mark, and down the list. And you might think, oh, well, I'll go with the team that has more check marks, that it is going to win more position battles. However, I find a lot of the time in the NFL, it's one position battle that ends up determining how a game goes, at least in the beginning. And I think that the Eagles defensive line versus the Atlanta offensive line is that matchup. Atlanta is just horrible on the offensive line, and the only thing the Eagles really have left on defense besides Darius Slay is their defensive line. Expect Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham to eat today. And I just expect it to be the most influential part of that game.
That is always a great place to start when you're looking to set lineups, bet games, is look at strength on strength. Is looking strength on strength, like or strength on weakness is a better way to put it. Like I just mentioned, the Panthers and the Jets. Panthers great receivers, Jets horrible corners. How does that not favor the Carolina Panthers? I do like this, and you know what? This tells you how sharp my man Jesse really is. This is an exact point that the Vegas guys used on Wednesday when I listened to their podcast about handicapping this game. The strength of the Philadelphia defensive front versus the weakness. Look at this guy, like a Vegas sharp over there on the East Coast. All right, a guy, maybe you've heard of him. His name's Chad Mendoza.
Mr. Mendoza.
Mr. Mendoza. He jumps in, got a nasty one for you guys. I'm assuming he means Paris Campbell, Gerald Everett, or Kendrick Bourne, or Randall Corn. Great first name, by the way, Randall Cobb. I'm down for the Randall, but I'm out on Corn on the Cobb. I think I'm out on Bourne. So for me, this comes down Paris Campbell or Gerald Everett, tight end premium, full point PPR. So I'm assuming the tight end premium must be 1.5 or 1.75. I would assume.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I'm pretty high on Gerald Everett this year. I'm going to go Paris Campbell, though, because when healthy, which I believe he is right now, the man has shown the ability, right? How many games has he played in the NFL? What was it? One game for 10 catches for 100 and something crazy yards last year. I mean, I'd probably be going with the upside of that. I think Everett is the floor play. Let's use Memphis's logic, and if you need points in this game, go Paris Campbell. If you just want to get, if you just want to get a floor, if you just want to get yourself 8 to 12 points, then go Everett. If you're looking to, if you're looking for a dagger in the heart of the other player or the other dynasty owner or the other fantasy owner, go Paris Campbell.
Yeah, first of all, Paris Campbell's probably a name. It's if you're looking best case scenario, and I'll speak on this from a dynasty perspective real quick. If there's a guy who could do the most to inflate his value, it's going to be Paris Campbell. I think he's worth like a 3.5, like barely a fourth in the DTC trade calculator, which is not good. In case you did not know, so I'm doing a little. I'm going to hit some data. 'Cause last I remember, I think the Colts were really tough against the tight end, and I am looking in fantasy points per game. The Colts were the fourth toughest matchup last year for the tight end. So, and they faced Robert Tonyan in there, they faced Waller in there, and so they didn't get beat up a lot. They only gave up 74 catches, which I guess I like that number, but they only gave up 3 touchdowns and 700 yards to the tight end position. By the way, if you're looking for a tight end flyer, you might, again, I keep going back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You may look Eric Ebron because, or you may look Tyler Conklin. The Bengals and the Bills both gave up almost 1,000 yards to tight ends last year, and both gave up 8 touchdowns. Zach Ertz, Goddard. But to answer this question for Mr. Mendoza, I am going to go, if you need the floor, go Gerald Everett, likely to see a little volume, especially if DK Metcalf's limited. By the way, it's ironic that it's a calf. Get it? Metcalf? Not as good as Scary and Halloween earlier, but hey, first of all, they can't all be winners. Sometimes you get this.
Yeah, you can't bet 1,000.
So sometimes you get that. Well, we got 5 minutes, man. Before we get out of here, if we get any more questions, we'll try to rush them through. I will recap my prop bets for the listeners. They got just enough time to get them in. I'm going James Robinson over 67.5 rush yards. It may be 68.5. Best number was on the Barstool Sportsbook app. I'm going Baker Mayfield over 1.5 passing TDs. Best number also Barstool Sportsbook app. And then I took Anthony Ferkser over 2.5 receptions on DraftKings. I did lay $1.35 to get that bet in. Yeah, maybe that's what I did to myself. Did you have any props or anything before we get out of here?
I don't. No, I apologize that I don't. I will next week, but
No, you're
I
fine.
didn't
No. What
prepare in
state do
that
you
way.
reside in? Where do
I'm
you?
I'm in Maryland, so we did referendum it in last November or last October. When do we vote? But yeah, we did referendum it in, so I can bet online. But they're still setting up the structure for a lot of the sports gambling in the state. But I can legally do it.
Yeah, even if you're in one of the 23 states, now it's legal in 27 and I believe the District of Columbia. It's coming, gang. You might as well get on board. I truly believe that gambling is going to be the thing that cooks DFS. It's so much more fun. Now, the wins aren't as big, but you see people putting out these crazy prop bets all the time and they hit them, but there's a reason why they hit them. So I've got my three props. I had Ferkser over, Baker over, and James Robinson over. And you know what? Speaking of over, this show is over. I want to thank Jesse for jumping on with me, spending the entire day. Jerry, Jerry? Sorry, old habits. Jesse, hey, look, man, 5 letters, double consonant. There's an E in there, starts with a J. I'm not doing bad. Jesse, where can these folks find you on social media?
Well, I'll tell you the best place to find me is to join the Dynasty Warzone Patreon, and then you can listen to me and Chad Mendoza and Mike Casper yuck it up every week. We do sort of a party theme where we review Patreon leagues for the Dynasty Warzone, and we just have a blast. Sometimes there's a little bit of imbibing going on. Sometimes there isn't. Whether there is or isn't, we always have a great time. So really, if you want to hear me, just sign up for the DWZ Patreon.
I appreciate that plug. Patreon.com/Dynasty Warzone. And that's something that I do. I mean, these guys are aspiring podcasters. And get familiar with this name. Get familiar with this voice. We're already 7 shows a week right now on YouTube, 6 podcasts a week. But we've got some very interesting, unique concepts coming up for the Dynasty gamer in your league. And I'm going to turn these guys loose. So, we won't have a DFS show in February. We won't have 2 redraft shows a week starting in February. And I've got big plans for Jesse, Mike, and Chad. So right now they're doing a great job entertaining me and all the patrons over at patreon.com/Dynasty Warzone. By the way, I've got a nickname for the group now. I'm going to share it with you guys first before I share it publicly. But on behalf of that man, his name is Jesse. My name is Memphis. Thanks for tuning in. Happy football is back weekend, guys. Something. Happy Sunday. Have a good one, guys. Thanks.